let's talk about AI and the Portland Trailblazers and these guys, Christa and David. And we're really, I haven't seen Christa for probably 18 months, so I'm glad she's back and part of our event today. And David, who works with her, both of them responsible for driving innovation change at the Portland Trailblazers. There's about 400 people in the sort of knowledge workforce, and that's the workforce that they serve in terms of, as I said, driving innovation and currently driving AI adoption and value. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, both of you. You can go off mute now.
Thanks for having us, Greg. Great to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Okay. Let's talk about how you got here. So, Christa, it has been about 18 months since you and I chatted. So you were early. I think you jumped on this like I did. We can both pat ourselves on the back, in terms of realizing the potential of AI, of generative AI, in terms of our organization. So you kind of were early from my perspective, and really wanted to make progress. So let's talk about that. Update us all in the last 18 months. What have you and David been up to? What have been the surprising learnings or insights that you can share? Maybe what worked and didn't work, and bring us up to date.
Yeah. So we haven't spoken for about 18 months, but even prior to that, 2 years ago, almost to the day, I started the AI mini MBA course with Section. So that was really when our journey more officially started, I would say. But the key moment for us was in 2023, before that, when our CEO went to an AI training and he came back and was like, so Christa, we got to figure this AI thing out because it's a thing. So fast forward, jumped into the training with our friend Jeremy Utley.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that really helped us figure out how to create and deploy a strategy. And I remember just thinking oh, thank goodness, not everyone doesn't have the answers. I'm not the only one that doesn't have all the answers. And it was just it was a very validating moment for me as a leader. Mm-hmm. But then going from there, I'd say a couple other highlights have been, one was probably so once we kind of launched into prompting and giving people guidance and tools and all of that, in 2024, summer 2024, we did this boot camp where that Jeremy led. Jeremy Utley, who's a Stanford professor who's mm-hmm. been a leader in this work. And it taught all of us how to not only prompt, but how to build custom GPTs and actually deploy simple automations. And it just kind of blew our minds from thinking oh, this is really helpful for individuals at work to oh, this changes our entire business. This changes mm-hmm. all of our workflows. It changes how we do business. It changes everything. So yeah, that's kind of to catch us up to where we are now. We've been doing a lot of work and trying to just democratize and deploy AI across the organization, and really, for lack of a better term, sort of smoke out the gophers in terms of who are the very excited, motivated, driven employees internally that want to learn and grow and create tools that add value to themselves and to their teams and to the whole organization, to be honest. And so we have a lot of great examples of how, both between David and our team meeting with every single department across the company to understand pain points and drive solutions, a lot of employees around the company who have kind of taken and ran with the AI learnings we've given.
So first of all, I haven't heard that expression before. Azalea, we want to capture that. It's gonna end up in one of our playbooks. Smoke out the gophers. I'm not sure it's a good thing, but I get it. Find the champ. We would call that McKinsey would call that find the champions.
Better term.
Yeah, find the champions and not smoke out the gophers. David, when you think about, let's talk about tools for a moment. What have you led with in terms of deploying LLM? What does everybody get their hands on kind of out of the box?
That's one thing that we don't necessarily promote too much. We'll try and give some learnings around certain tools and releases. We actually have an agent that scrapes updates around some of these bigger players and sends it to a channel for our folks to digest. But our core, and with conviction, we're trying to stay solid around problem solving, pain point solving, auditing workflows, all that sort of stuff. And so that we're pretty tool agnostic, because we feel if you're able to solve or figure out what the problems you have and that you need to solve for impact, we can just use these tools and they're continue to get better and better. And the solutions will just get easier and easier to implement. So that's kind of what we're focused on, is audits and pain points.
Makes sense. But do they, I mean, what AI do they get? Do they get Copilot or GPT,
Sure.
or like what's the base capability that your employees have access to?
Yeah, boil down to the problems and then looking for a tool. Default, we will push folks towards Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, just for good data governance and ease of use, and we're a Microsoft shop.
Yep. Got it.
And then, but also we're not on any specific enterprise plan. If folks within a certain department want to use Claude for copywriting or marketing imagination and creativity, that's fine. If folks want to use OpenAI, ChatGPT for things and builds, that's fine as well. It just has to be within the guidelines we've set up from a legal and data governance standpoint.
Got it. And let's talk about that actually, since you mentioned it, because our point of view is guidelines or policies tend to discourage usage, and sort of manifestos or something like a manifesto or a rallying cry encourage usage. How did you guys find the balance between sort of safe AI and providing the guardrails and the, the policies, but also, obviously trying to encourage adoption and not kind of scare people away? And just curious how you guys did that.
Yeah, we kind of did both. So initially in like spring of 2023, when ChatGPT, everyone was talking about it, we just worked with our legal team and we're like, hey, we probably have to have some kind of policy here, but like just so that everyone knows kind of what we're thinking on this. Like, think of ChatGPT as like a really, really, really smart, good friend that you do not trust. And like, let's just start there and then we'll figure it out from there. So then we basically at this point just have a policy that people have to sign off on when they take our training, but like everything that we do and talk about, like we have a manifesto, we have, the internal communications, we have the shared lunch and learns and all the things that, people talk about in terms of like wanting to drive use and adoption and sharing great examples to really encourage people to use it.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the champions, the Gophers. If you had to guess, how many of the 400, roughly, how many champions do you have? Like, is it 5%, 10, like, just like what expectation would you set to someone else who's leading an effort like this around how many champions they either would need or, or expect as a percentage of the total? Just what's your gut feel on that?
I think it's a pretty normal curve. Like, I think it's less than 20% of our staff are like fully adopting it, and a much smaller percent are like full-on champions, maybe 5%.
Right. Yep. And do you officially designate them as champions? And, are they sort of in a group that's like a champion group, or like you probably know who they are, right? Because you interact with them, but do they have any responsibilities as a champion, or is it, hey, just, be a good citizen kind of thing?
There's a few different ways that we try and highlight folks and their adoption of AI. One of them is within a group called Radar. It's Responsible AI Alignment. It's a kind of a autonomous government that can look at new AI tools and kind of with a lens of protecting the company and protecting our customers and fans, and how we can leverage that. And that's across legal, IT, customer experience, marketing. So there's folks who have been hand raisers since day one that are now part of that committee, and it's been awesome having them there. And then in general, we have folks like, I think for whoever those champions are, I think we have different ideas of what the qualities of a champion are. I think some folks that are building custom GPTs to make their workflows better, that can also be adopted by the entire department, like that's a really cool win. So even if you're not the best prompter, if you're able to create something that like audits and creates a new way of working within your department, that's something we really want to highlight.
Yeah.
No. I also think we don't actually know who they all are. So I learned about one person who had been working on a tool that basically replaces another software, like a sales software. And she just built it from scratch and like didn't tell anyone. And then like eventually was like, hey, check this out. And we're like, whoa, so like we don't necessarily know all the cool stuff people are doing, which
for sure. And you're okay with that, presumably. I mean, I think we all probably have to be.
Yeah.
Right. Like if it's going to come organically and from the bottom or from the foundation, we can't probably know about it all, which I think is the point, right? At some level. Let's keep talking about sort of how you got here, though. What was your sense of, maybe going back now 12, 18 months, or maybe still today, what is the level, if there is any, of any anxiety or resistance, or do you feel like you've been able to sort of move through that phase? Because we hear that pretty consistently across, and we see it across all of our clients. And I don't know if I probably haven't updated you, Christa. We have 150 enterprise clients now, so we see a lot of this in terms of what's happening really on the ground, right? And what we do see is in the early phase a fair amount of resistance or concern about from employees around how much AI to adopt. And just curious what you saw maybe 18 months ago, and how's it changed today if you were to update that perspective.
I'm smiling a little bit because you all just released what's it called? The AI change management playbook.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it and I was like, oh, those 4 change management challenges are exactly the 4 change management challenges that we face, which is, yes, employees are anxious about AI.
Yep.
There's resistance for sure. There is a steep learning curve for getting real value from AI. I will say, I think a lot of people get a ton of value from just that initial, like, oh my gosh, I can do that. And you're like, oh, yeah. But getting from that initial win to like real value is pretty steep.
Yep.
Having people rethink their workflows and how they work and how much time and the steps that they take to do things, it blew my mind. Like, we literally have sat in conversations and meetings with people being like, no, but what do you do from A to B? Like, I get that hiring someone is like, yeah, you talk to the hiring manager and then you put out the job, but there's like a lot in between there.
Right.
So like getting people to actually think through what they're doing and how long each step takes is really hard and very time consuming.
Yeah.
A lot of hand holding. And then, yeah, the tech is changing and evolving. I do think that in general, like the basic tech, like people that aren't at the cutting edge of it, the tech isn't changing that much,
Right.
like the general purpose. So that feels like a less of an issue. But yeah, for the most part, I don't think it's changed that much in 18 months. I think there's been ebbs and flows of people being like, yeah, this is so exciting, and being like, oh, this is scary. So part of the way we've tried to approach that is through the framing, which I honestly believe, which is like, the more that you can get good at this, the better you will be, both at our company and whatever you do next. And so like, look at this as professional development, because you're only going to fall behind if you're not getting on board.
Yeah. And do you think they're buying it when you say that? I mean, I agree, obviously.
There's some people that,
how's it landing?
I think it depends. David probably hears different things than I hear. There's people that come up to me and say, like, I can't believe we get the free training and resources that you provide. Like, I feel so lucky to get to work here. And there's, I am sure, a lot of people who are like, stay away from me, don't talk to me, I'm terrified.
I think
David, what are your thoughts?
It's from folks who come up, I've heard verbatim that like you're helping me plan my own demise is almost like the breakdown of what they're trying to say boiled down. So like, and I hear that, and it's a divisive topic sometimes, but I think the way that we've tried to set things up and ease folks' minds around that is like, we're not trying to implement AI to replace skills. So if folks, because like we might think we're trying to make something more efficient, but that's someone's skill. And if they don't tell us like directly that they don't want that replaced and that's a skill that they have, then that's something that we're already going to be butting heads about. So we try and go directly to folks and have them, as being the people closest to the problems, figure out what ways that we can replace some of those things that just drive them crazy. And then we can fix with an AI solution, and then they're part of the solution, and they're not resistant to the technology, they're more resistant to just like not understanding how it can be implemented within their work. And we try and help them along with that.
Yeah. My take on this is often the people who use AI the least are the most afraid, right? Because they don't, they get their narrative from the media or from, just sort of the water cooler, so to speak. And the reality is that when you use AI a lot, it provides a lot of value, and you also realize it's not taking my job anytime soon, right? It's not that good, and maybe it will get better, or it is getting better. We'll see at what pace it gets better, right? But it feels like some of that anxiety is from out of ignorance in some ways, right?
I agree. I also remember Adam David said something that really stuck with me a few months ago. He said that our jobs are really just made up bundles of tasks, and like AI will change the tasks that we have bundled that defines our job. But that's very different than AI replacing your job. And so that has really helped me with thinking and shaping. Like David and my job, since we started this journey, is completely different, right? Because we're able to do so much more. We're able to do, and like we initially started this journey thinking like, oh, we can save so much time. We can save so much time. you know, but, and then you're like, well, it doesn't actually matter how much time you save unless you're using that found time effectively. Right. And so I guess it's two separate thoughts, but along that line, like
Yeah,
the more
for
that
sure.
we can incentivize people and think about like, hey, you have all this newfound time, like what can you do that's valuable that makes you better set up for your future
Yeah.
here or somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a theory, and so I want to, let's just double click on this for a moment. I have a theory that a lot of people are reporting that there aren't the gains. The employers, right? Companies are reporting we don't see the gains yet. You know, AI pilots are stuck in pilot, or, you know, and some of those studies, I think some of them are bullshit, but I think they're directionally accurate, meaning it is hard to get some of these productivity gains, and or a lot of these AI pilots are stuck, perhaps, you know, pre-production. But one of my theories is that the employee is actually capturing the gain, and it has not yet been shared with the employer in some ways, right? Because if you make yourself a little more productive, maybe you get back a couple hours a week, or more or less. Maybe you want to go walk the dog, right? Or make dinner for the kids, or take a yoga class, and you're not necessarily going to go to your boss and say, give me an extra 2 hours of work, right? I think most engineers, for example, software engineers, they know how much code they need to write to be a good performer, right? If they want to be a superstar, they can write a lot more. But if you don't want to get fired, you kind of know what you have to do. And if a coding copilot, an AI agent, helps you get that code done, you know, in 35 hours, not 40, I think in the short term, you might claim those hours for yourself, you know? So I wonder if,
100%.
and I'm just curious, that's my hypothesis. Both of you, do you agree or not?
100%. And I just saw a chat pop up about incentives. And I was going to say that as well, as like this incentives aren't aligned. Like if I'm going to save 2 hours a day because I'm using AI effectively, 100% I'm going to go walk my dog or do whatever, because I have no incentive to create value for the business.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing we're thinking about now, is like, how are we actually using this for like new value creation for the
Yep.
non-gophers, right? Because there's
Right.
plenty of people who are not like, hey, check out what I did. I just added so much value. I just saved us so much time. Now we
Right.
can do this. Now, like there's most people are not that.
Yeah, great. Most
Right?
people are not that. They want to do a good job, and
Yeah.
be, you know, be well paid, and you
And
know,
live their life, which is
yeah,
great.
they're not crazy like us. Yeah, David, what are your thoughts on who's getting the gain here in the short term, and how does this change?
Yeah, I think, well, I'll take a step back. Like one example I have around incentives being a key part of all this is we had an AI tool that we built that it's pretty documented of like reducing our response time to detractors who come to our events. Reduce it from 50 hours to 3 hours. And so we have all this time savings, and it was across 3 departments and 3 different people. So as leaders, we try to like refocus that energy towards like, let's reach out to our fans that were promoters. Let's acknowledge those key moments that they had, and let's like solidify those as key memories. And I would say like that had pretty good adoption, but the folks who keep asking me about these and they're visible within Slack, these promoters that come in are the sales team, right? I mean, so just from incentive wise, like it's benefits them to reach out to those folks, right, and see if they can get them to come to another game. I think for guest experience and things like that, it makes the jobs easier if they reach out to them, but like it's an incentive versus
Yeah, yeah,
versus not.
yeah, makes sense. So that's a good segue. Let's talk about AI in the context of, and maybe in this moment. So you know, you've traveled this journey so far in terms of the last 18 months, 2 years, I guess over 2 years. And now we're in this moment. When you think about this moment and what you guys are doing, how much of it is internally focused versus changing or improving the fan experience or customer experience? When you think about AI, so how do you kind of divide your time that way, you know, in terms of investments and projects and efforts, you know, customer versus internal, I guess, operations and efficiency?
Yeah. So our work is all focused on three things. It's like, how are we adding value to the bottom line? How are we adding value to fans, like external stakeholders, fans, guests, partners? And then how are we adding value to our staff?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're not doing one of those three things with name whatever we're doing, then we shouldn't be doing it.
So those are the three pillars of your.
Those are our three pillars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like they're very intersected, right? So like that example that David gave, where we are able to now get back to fans within 30 seconds of them
Right.
complaining about something in a post-event survey versus sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes never.
Right. Right.
Actually creates more human connection and improves the fan experience while also making us far more efficient as a business.
Yep.
And also because of those promoters, it drives more revenue to the bottom line. So like
Yep.
that one tool that David built, that one automation,
Mm-hmm.
it's all three of those buckets.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the work starts with internal, and I forget the exact, what was the framework at the mini MBA? It was like
Optimize, accelerate, transform. OAT.
Yes. And so like everything it starts with optimize, like how can we optimize? How can we optimize? And then it turns out that it's like actually having bigger impacts on our ability to create a better fan experience, our ability to drive more revenue.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's talk about ROI then, because that's always and we've been touching on it, and that's that optimize, accelerate, transform, right? Optimize is obviously making things more efficient. Accelerate the business, which really means accelerate the customer experience in some ways, right? Improve it. Transform doesn't feel like AI will be transformative to the sports business yet. Yeah, maybe yet. Okay. So, but yeah, that's fair. But it could be, yeah. So in those optimize and accelerate kind of categories, how do you think about ROI and what are you looking for? Let's start there. And then we'll talk about the CFO in a minute. But what are you guys looking for, you two, when you think about making investments? What do you want to see happen? And how do you measure that? David, you take a first crack.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's the ultimate question, right? I think we've gone through different ideas of what that could be, and I think we touched on it a little bit, but like what the time savings and how that can be calculated down to a number. That wasn't successful. It wasn't easy to communicate to our staff. Honestly, like it wasn't actually boiling down to actual ROI because that time wasn't being repurposed, or we didn't have vision into or visual into how that time was being repurposed. So it didn't really matter. So I think we've been more focused on those builds and what kind of KPIs each build has. So it's not boiling down to like one core KPI. We have our pillars, right? And those builds can fit within those pillars. But if one of our builds is able to increase the likelihood of us going out to a corporate partner with a deal that benefits them, benefits us, and it's also within compliance of our CBA and our OLC liquor license and control board, great. So also not necessarily.
Before you go further, David, so explain when you say a build, these builds, what do you mean by a build? Explain what a build is.
So a build is something that's directly sourced from different departments. We host lunch and launches where we get everyone in the room. We tell people to finish the sentence, it sucks that. They tell us all the things that they hate about their job. And then we identify one of them that's supposed to be that's supposedly the most impactful from that group. We label it under one of our pillars and we get to work building that solution for them.
Okay, hold on a sec, slow down. This is good stuff, guys. I want everybody to catch this. So it's called a lunch and launch. Is that what you called it?
Yep, lunch and launch.
Learn. Okay, like that. Innovated on the name, and it starts with you sit, and it's one team or it's cross-functional. The team.
Individual.
Departments. So departments. So sales, marketing, whatever, HR, whatever, right?
Yep.
And you start this, it's a brainstorm basically, and it starts with it sucks that. So, and then basically everybody just starts throwing out ideas. It sucks that I have to, I don't know, whatever, spend 5 hours looking up whatever. Yeah, I get it. So just like whiteboard kind of thing, list them out. And then do you prioritize them in that lunch and launch in that 1 hour? Do you prioritize and try to pick the one or two, or is that done later through some criteria, or you do it in the moment?
We do it in the moment. We do it at the end. We give every employee, and it can be interns to C-suite who can be in the room.
Yeah.
We give every employee 2 points, and they can use their 2 points towards one solution. They use one for one for another. They can say, "Oh, John, I know that really sucks for you. I'm going to give you both my points." So it's really cool. It's democratized.
Yeah.
I'm not over engineering something that people don't want. They're telling me directly what they want.
Right.
And that's how we go.
Hold sec. And then is there any feasibility filter at that moment? Because they could be all voting for something that's brain dead stupid or not possible. Or you're doing that then, or you letting them all vote and then you kind of take it back and apply a feasibility filter. How do you do that?
We take it back. And the thing is, we're doing those across every department, right? So from a leadership level, we get to look at them and then prioritize them ourselves with how much energy we're going to put towards and bandwidth we're going to put towards building these tools. But we're not going to say within that moment, like, hey, the only feasibility issue we'll have is if like we feel like we can't do it.
Yeah, right. Sure. Cool. Yeah. Okay. And then you kind of tackle that. The next steps are you pick one, one or two, let's say, and then they're prioritizing some sort of queue for you to try to prototype, basically.
Correct.
There's an important other element of that though, which is that there's a champion from within the team that has to volunteer to partner with David and his team to build it, because they have to provide the data, they have to test it, they have to give feedback, they have to roll it out across their team. And so we have all these little champions that pop up from each department that are invested in the success of that tool being.
Yeah, makes sense. And I guess this comes out in the voting. Do you care about something more if it's for a team versus an individual, or like how, or that just kind of comes out in the voting? Basically, people prioritize.
Yeah, like if it's saving one person 5 hours a week versus saving the team their whole workflow.
Sure.
Absolutely. I have a slide that like kind of lays this out. If it's helpful, I can show it. But
yeah, let's show it. Let's get it. Let's cue the slide. I like slides.
So David just talked through this really well, but basically like the criteria is like, what are the repetitive tasks, or like what sucks about your job? So this is like during those meetings, those lunch and launch.
Hold on a second. What, break the loop of the Einstellung effect? What the hell is that?
David.
So this is something from Jeremy Utley. But the Einstein effect is when you have a problem and you have the anxiety of having the problem, you know how to solve the problem, so you use the same solution you always have, but it might be the most inefficient way to actually solve the problem.
Got it.
But getting folks to even stop and think about, like, this is just a workflow audit, right? Getting people to stop and think about ways that they can break the cycle of this kind of a doom loop of doing the same thing over and over again, and find ways AI can either be inserted or AI to completely automate that problem.
Yep, love it. Okay, criteria to build. We talked a little bit about that. Feasible. Yeah, value. So you've got this thing is high to low on cost effort, right? And then obviously low to high on business impact. And then
again, those colors are
right, those three pillars, right? Yeah.
So, and then again, like not pictured here are a lot of builds that we tried and that weren't successful. And so that's like, if you look at process, it's like we pilot something with them, we iterate based on feedback, and then we decide, like, are we scaling this or are we bailing on it?
Right. Right. And then, so you've got some of these, not them, but some of these projects, these builds address multiple pillars, and you can see that in the, I guess, the way you color code them. What's the dotted line? That's like, is that in the backlog in the pipeline?
Those are ones that either failed for one of two reasons. One,
they failed. These are so they failed. They're done.
There could be reimagined at some point, but for right now, like, they either got developed and there was less adoption than we had hoped for, or just from a feasibility standpoint, like there was an issue with building it overall, and like there's a data security or concern or something like that. I will say that a lot of those ones were done prior to us doing the lunch and launch program. So also another good example of like adoption is key if it's coming directly from the folks close to problems.
Yeah, for sure. I love the fact, frankly, you just keep track of them. I mean, I think that's really great to keep track of all experiments, successful and failed, because the failed ones can come back, right, and get fixed or improved, and just to have a kind of an honest accounting for what you've tried, right? I think I think it's valuable to do that. So I appreciate you guys doing that.
Thank you. I think what'll be interesting this year is, like, now that it's year 2 of lunch and launches, we're going to actually lean more, and everyone's had so much more training. We're going to lean more on the department leaders to actually take on the building of the tools. And we're going to be more of like the support system for them. So next year when we have, it'll be interesting to see how this changes.
So one of the things I'm noticing in our most successful clients is the amount of manual labor is going on from the AI leadership team, the lunch and learns, the discovery, discovery calls or meetings, right? The one-on-ones where the workflow audits, just a lot. And I'm asking, is that your experience? And just, can you give us a sense, like every week, how many, let's just focus on you two. How many conversations are each of you in with someone else to help them with AI? Just like roughly, is that like a couple? Is it one? Is it 5?
A couple, but it's also changed. I think, like, early on, part of it is like we still have people that are like, we have to remind them to use AI. I got a proposal from someone yesterday, and I was like, hey, have you run through AI yet? Because my quick run through, here's a ton of feedback that's going to help make this better. Like
Yeah.
you should be doing that before you bring it to me. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just reminding people. But yeah, I mean, so this week, as an example, I sent out to our internal channel, hey, I'm going to do weeks ago, I sent out the Become an AI Builder session for Thursday.
Yeah.
Said, if anyone wants to join me, I've got a conference room, come sit with me for 4 hours and we're going to do this together.
Yeah.
So that's because it's 4 hours that those people would not be doing it, right?
Yeah,
I sent it to them and it was like, sign up and do it on your own. 0 people are doing it.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that where it does require like a little extra.
Yeah, for
What
sure.
about
I
for
mean,
you,
it's,
David? Oh, sorry.
yeah. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think back to the core of your question, like it's in the current state, it's unsustainable. I love it, but it's taken, like, our jobs are changed so much, and it's been such a over index and like time spent on this sort of thing. And it's great. I see the output and the change being well worth it. But ideally, like our lunch and launch, like Christa said, our lunch and launch programs are run by the leaders themselves.
Yep.
And employees themselves have the tools and knowledge to be able to create things themselves and their workflows. So that's the goal.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, because when you think about scaling this up, right, to bigger organizations, I mean, it doesn't scale, right? It's just too much kind of hand-to-hand combat, not to use a military analogy, but it is too much, I think, hand-to-hand. We are trying to build, as you know, we are building Prof AI out as a platform. It initially today covers the proficiency and coaching for AI, so to reduce some of that burden. But we intend to build Prof AI out as really a change management platform, and to really allow the head of AI to scale themselves, right, and their teams. Because when you think about 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 employees, you simply can't do it all manually. It's just
Let us know if you need a company to pilot that with.
yes, absolutely. You're in.
That's great.
Our use case agent is launching November. I think it's the 7th. I don't know if I have that right. Someone in chat from section should get that right for me. But I think next week we're launching our next kind of component, which is a use case coach, customized, personalized, right? Obviously based because Prof AI knows what job you're in. Because what we're finding is a lot of people are doing that manually. Like people you are sitting with people, helping them, coaching them on the potential use cases for their specific role. And again, that just doesn't scale if you do it all, kind of one-to-one, right? Or even one-to-many in small group. It still doesn't scale if you got 10,000 employees. So
That's
yeah,
actually one of the smart things that David created too is like a use case GPT. So like he gives people homework before the lunch and launch. That's like, hey, just chat with this GPT and like you will come with, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, love it.
incredibly helpful.
That's right. Yeah, I'm always reminded of Eric Porras, right? I think Eric. He's the head of AI at Logitech.
Yep.
And he did 710 personal trainings over 18 months. They eventually gave him the job to be head of AI, right? So it kind of worked. But that was about 10. They have about 7,000 employees, so it was about 10% of the workforce.
He's a gopher.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about looking forward. Next 12 months. Kind of what's on your agenda. You already mentioned one thing, which is kind of for the teams to become more self-sufficient, which obviously makes sense. That's one way to scale, is don't do it all yourself. But what else would you, when we have this conversation a year from now at the end of 2026, for both of you, what do you want to be reflecting on in terms of your successes the next 12 months as it relates to AI?
I think from a tactical standpoint, we're just about to launch our mandatory AI training. So I would love for everyone has to take that, which will be great. And then prior to that, we also sent out a survey to create a baseline of AI knowledge. And I want substantial growth in 12 months or in 6 months from now, based off of that baseline survey results. And some of that's around anxiety around using AI, understanding how to use it effectively. Are you doing things within your department? Are you organizing AI sessions? Are you organizing AI audits of your work stuff? So like all that stuff is going to be captured, and ideally we're back to the Gophers again. We have another indication of folks who are leading the charge for their department, and it'll be visible by department too. We want to see like if there are other groups that could kind of get the Eric Porras treatment, and we can come in and do some one-on-one sessions. And
is there one group that is landing with the most? Like if you had to say today where we're at, and maybe we'll forecast in 12 months, but today, is this landing with the most traction or adoption with sales or marketing or software engineering? Or is there anything that you can see that where it's been more transformative?
It's funny. I'm curious what you think about this, David, but I just keep going back to incentives because I'm like all the people that see the value directly in their compensation are like we have partnership sellers who built their own tools
Right.
like from scratch and are like, here's how I'm 10xing my
Yeah,
output.
because their personal income is tied to their productivity,
Exactly.
and this drives their productivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I've seen it a lot. And then also again, just like the people who are super intrinsically motivated and excited about it,
Right.
which is sprinklings all over. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one cool example that Chris and I were talking about yesterday in preparation for this is we had a member of our customer insights group who created a GPT that has our personas, so we can run ads by it, copy by it, all that sort of stuff, unprompted by us. A member of that group went off and did it, and then we had a new hire this week who asked like if we have any AI tools that could help with that sort of stuff, and it's just felt so good that we could say like, oh, it's not something I can show you. You actually have to go talk to this other department to build themselves.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping to go for if you're looking like 12 months down the road.
Yeah.
The other thing too, just future facing that I'm really excited about is just the reorganization of our data, just like how we're basically creating data infrastructure so we can use natural language search for our own data.
Yep.
And I think the opportunity for that will be huge. So that should be done in the next 3 months or so. And then we've been very hesitant to have customer facing AI created copy, creative, etc. But we did launch an AI natural language AI text tool that has been really helpful, both in terms of how we internally are managing our data and also just reducing, because one of the complaints we got from across like every team with the it sucks that is like how many customer questions you have to answer, whether you're on the ticketing team or the guest experience or whatever. And so it's like just having a tool that can access all of the relevant information that that person should have access to.
Yep.
Automating that is a way better customer experience for them.
Yep.
And it's way less menial work for our group. So that's another thing that I'm excited about the opportunity for.
Yeah, that's a great use case actually, where I think there's so much little benefit of that, but it does add up to be an aggregate quite significant, right? Like getting internal employees access to the answer faster so they can give it to the customer faster, right?
When the customer can get it directly now.
Or directly, absolutely.
Either
Yeah.
way,
yeah.
Both things are important.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the CFO real quick, and then I'll start to wrap up, and we'll take some audience questions. Yes, thank you, Carlos. My hat is cool, and it is a reference to the AI struggle. This is a golf hat. I don't golf, but I wear it when I think about AI because the struggle is real, because it's not easy, as Christa and David are reminding us. This is a long and it takes real work journey. It's, Christa, my take on this is if you want to spend most of your time writing LinkedIn posts to be an AI influencer, you're probably not going to actually make the transformation happen. That this is just hard work, right? Doing it every day. But the CFO, in a year from now, is he or she going to be happy or not, or do you care as it relates to AI?
I love that question. Well, we are lucky to have a CFO who's very on board and gets it. So, but regardless of that, knowing that we are spending money on tools and training and all of those things, like there's no question that it's paying for itself and then some. But I guess the reason I say that about him specifically is like I luckily don't have to map out every cent. And I do think that that's really a challenge, right? Saying like, hey, because we did this and because this person was trained in that, we actually were able to replace that software tool, which used to cost us 40 grand and is now free. But like, do you want us to map out every single dollar that we're saving or generating? Or like David built a website in Mandarin after we drafted a player from China for ecom in 4 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Like no one was, it's just like trying to quantify that consistent way has been massively challenging. So there's both no question that the ROI is there, and also like how much work do you want us to spend proving out the ROI?
Right. No, that's a great way to say it, Christa. Like, yeah, it feels like to me the executive, whether it be a CFO or a CEO, whoever it is, has to intuitively believe that the gains are there. Maybe they have to have felt them themselves in their own team or themselves personally. And if they get that, then your argument, I think, is easier to land, which is, do you want us running around trying to capture and do like time studies, whatever they are, right, to capture this value? Or if you know it's happening, if you can feel it, then then we should scale it, right?
Exactly.
This is this kind of goes back into I'm from the paid media world originally, so return on ad spend. I think it's now talking about return on AI spend, like
Sure.
to be honest. And the question I always get is like, well, what would happen if you spend more into it? I was like, well, ideally we'll get more return. There's probably a break off point or whatever where you get diminishing returns. And then they say, well, what will happen if we turn it off, right? And would you think we'd still get a return? I was like, do you want to try that? It's like we're in that phase, right? Do you want us to stop spending on it and just kind of see what happens? Like I don't think anyone wants to do that here anymore, which is great, or ever wanted to do that. So I think
no, but I love that. I love that question. I want to capture that. Azalea, let's make sure we capture that one as well. Like that's a great question. Do you want me to turn it off?
Right.
Yeah. Like we could go back the old way. We could turn it off. I like that. Yeah. Okay, let's end this segment with each of you 1 or 2 words of advice for everybody else that's listening in terms of if they're responsible for some sort of AI transformation themselves, their team, maybe their family, who knows, right? Maybe their church, their community, doesn't matter the group of people necessarily, but I guess maybe it does. Let's focus on work and knowledge teams. What's your advice for them based on everything you've learned the last 2 years? Christa, why don't you start, and then David.
My strategic advice is to get your CEO on board. And my individual advice is to make it personal. And so you can actually make it personal for your CEO to get them on board. Find something that matters, whether it's deciding, I think you gave this example, Greg, like deciding what kindergarten to send your kid to, or whatever, like the thing is that you are struggling with as a human. Like make it personal to them, let them see the value, and then that will open up a lot of doors. Yep.
Love it. David, what are your thoughts?
I think check the ego at the door. This is a tough thing to tackle. And if you look in the mirror and realize you just don't have the skills to do this yourself, like go and find it, whether that's a podcast, a learning resource, a person, like get mentored through this. So you do have a nice baseline skills, and then remain agnostic to the tools, because the tools are just going to keep, like I said earlier in this, the tools are just going to keep getting better, and the ways towards solutions are going to keep getting easier. But do you actually know what you're trying to solve? So be good at identifying your own pain points, and whether that's personal or that's at work. Keep a notebook, write down things that are bothering you, and see if it's something that you can thought partner with an AI tool to create a solution.
Yeah, love it. Good advice. Okay, we know we're in a bubble, and I do have a question about that, but we're out of time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Honor.
Thanks for joining us.